Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So much happened in that episode.
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
That was, yeah, it's getting real intense.
Dude.
Can we just watch them all in a row? Can we just watch? I don't want to wait.
I mean, honestly, I just want to let's go.
Oh. Okay. Take a breath. Calm down. You okay?
I am fine.
Okay. While Sara takes a deep cleansing breath, we would like to welcome you to episode 20 of Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul. I'm Paul. Sara is freaking out.
Wow. Are there 2 whole episodes left?
I mean, I feel like, it feels like the next episode should be the season finale, but it also felt like this should be the season finale given last week's episode. I think that's kind of how masterful they are.
Yes, but also, and I promise I will stop freaking out in a second, you were not in this episode.
I didn't remember. I know I wasn't, but hey, what are you going to do? I'm pulling the strings behind the scenes, probably from my room in my brother's rec room in his basement.
Yes. But I want to talk to your agents. It's not okay. I'm mad about it. I'm like, you're my friend. Where's my friend?
Okay, this one really got to you, huh?
Yeah, man. This actually brought me back to some very visceral filming, gut moments. It was a lot.
Okay, you just keep doing your breathing, keep doing your yoga. I'm going to Calistine.
What's my new favorite verb?
So, the Calistine Index for episode 20. This episode is called Tonight. Feel free to sing West Side Story to yourselves for a moment. We won't, so we don't get sued. It aired on May 1st, 2006. It was written by Zach Estrin and directed by Bobby Roth. 8.54 million people tuned in to watch that Monday night at 8 p.m. Competition in the time slot, you know it by now, say it with me, was Deal or No Deal on NBC, King of Queens on CBS, and Wife Swap on ABC.
By the way, can we mush that into one show? Is it like the Wife Swap Deal of Queens?
Deal or No Deal, King of Queens on an Island.
Yeah, totally. Sorry.
It's worth mentioning. It's nice to not have anything competitive counter-programmed here. I mean, if you wanted a show like Prison Break, you're watching Prison Break, not King of Queens. Although
entirely.
That crossover episode we did with King of Queens was incredible.
Totally. Yeah, especially because it was musical. All right. Yeah. I am now sufficiently calmed down to recap the episode. It is a doozy. Westmoreland is critically wounded when he attacks Bellick and locks him under the room. Go Westmoreland.
Okay.
Michael plans the escape for that night. Everyone will need to cover their scent to avoid the search dogs. That gets gross. Michael decides to include Tweener, knowing of his betrayal. But we're not sure he knows of the betrayal, but the recap people thought they did. And then Michael finishes the Taj Mahal model for the Pope. Michael reveals his escape plan to begging her to leave the door unlocked. Abruzzi informs Nick Savrinn to bring Veronica to him, and Savrinn pulls a gun on her.
Damn.
Then the model of the Taj collapses as Pope tries to move it, and he calls Michael into the room where Michael pulls a shank on him.
Dang. I'm exhausted. In pop culture news at the time, on May 5th, the Red Hot Chili Peppers released their 9th studio album, Stadium Arcadium. The album would go quadruple platinum, selling over 4 million records. Also on May 5th, Disney acquired Pixar for $7.4 billion, leading to the creation of some of the most successful animated films of all time. And a few days earlier, on April 28th, the 33rd Daytime Emmy Awards were held in Los Angeles. Jeopardy! Won for Outstanding Game Show. The Oprah Winfrey Show for Outstanding Talk Show. And a Lifetime Achievement Award was presented to Carol Spinney, puppeteer who had portrayed both Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street since 1969.
That is a true lifetime achievement. In global events, April 26th marked the 20th anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, with a ceremony commemorating that somber event.
Oh.
On May 5th, the Darfur Peace Agreement was signed, establishing a ceasefire in the region, although the promises of wealth and power sharing were largely unfulfilled and stability and violence returned to the region not very long afterwards.
And speaking of violence and instability, here's the highlight reel from our watch party, which you can listen to at any time by subscribing on Patreon on the show page wherever you are listening right now. Here it is.
By the way, shovel to the face, always.
Yeah, it's over.
No, but shovel to the face, always great. Works for me every time. You're going to roll in Brussels sprouts to throw off the dogs. By the way, I just sounded like an owl there, and I just want to own that.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry. Also, thanks for the shank, Teabag.
Wait, did they just pardon him? We were talking about booze. We were talking about fake booze.
This is like the worst version of Napoleon Dynamite. There's very much a like psycho thing going on. And are you possibly dead and stuffed? It's interesting that nobody thought to do that. I'm so stressed.
I need to lay down.
I'm gonna need another minute to calm down.
Another.
We
Got me all worked up
right
again.
back.
All right. Okay, we're back. Sarah?
Mhm.
Sarah?
Yep.
Sarah?
Yeah.
You okay? You good?
I'm totally.
Okay. Can we talk about the episode? Do you need
Yeah. Would you like to talk about the episode in a calm way?
a calming voice?
Let's talk calming.
Do you need some aromatherapy?
No. I'm just gonna go
Okay.
listen to like a meditating British dude on an app and just.
You said, okay, I'm going to hit my notes. You said that you had, there's a scene with your father, the
Yes.
governor, and you said you had a note in your script on that scene.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I was looking through, my little jotting to myself, and I decided that until that scene, I was likely not to leave the door open. And that this was about like, taking this time and the struggle was about how do I wrap my head around the fact that my inaction is going to lead a man
Sure.
to die. But that after that interaction with Dad, the struggle becomes how do I become someone who's going to break the law? Which is just, it's maybe irrelevant inside baseball, but
I don't think it's irrelevant at all because, I mean, it doesn't seem like that not secret, but like that seems on its face to be what's going on, right? I mean, that you go there looking, the binary you ask him, you say, did you look at it? Did you make did you make an actual determination on this? Or is it just pure politics with a person's life? And he won't answer you. And then he says, grow up. No, I didn't.
Mhm.
And so then it's like it doesn't absolve you of the decision-making process. He didn't make he made a decision of inaction.
Right. And I mean,
if he had said to you, I looked at it, this guy's clearly guilty.
yes. Yeah.
Or
I
we
think,
disagree on this.
Mhm.
But he's saying, I don't need to look at this. Look at the guy's rap sheet.
Or even saying, I don't care about any of this. I'm going to be nominated. Because I think the thing, we were trying to figure this out as we were listening to it because we were talking over it. But I believe the thing that heard in the bar that stopped her in her tracks was he's likely going to be Vice President Reynolds' running mate when she runs for president.
Right.
And so it gives some credence. I think what it is it gives some credence to Michael's insane conspiracy theories. And all of a sudden, there's
even if it's not a conspiracy theory, there's a political expedient to it that's disgusting.
Right.
That it's like I'm currying favor with these people, even if it's not a conspiracy, which it is a conspiracy. But even if it wasn't, I'm currying favor.
It's at least a quid pro quo.
Yeah. And then there's also an interesting thematic thing, which is, for somebody who is, has had a rough go, has course corrected, has decided she wants to help people with her medical degree. And as part of her recovery, she's working at this prison. And he says to her, working at that place has changed you. Why don't you go someplace where you can help these people before, by the time they're at Fox River, he says, they're too far gone.
Right. There's no rehabilitation.
And your experience has kind of taught you differently, both about a lot of the people you've treated, but also in terms of Michael, where as much as you feel manipulated, part of you wants to trust this person and think this person is doing something good. So for him to say about Lincoln, it's too late, he's a criminal, he deserves to die anyway, all those people are not worth it. Pope says to Michael, you're a good guy. You're the only good guy here, basically.
Yeah.
Michael says, actually, there's some other good guys here. I mean, it speaks to the kind of complexity of redemption storylines that are going on with some of these characters. I mean, C-Note wants to get out to be with his family. Westmoreland wants to get out to see his daughter one last time. There is a kind of sense of some people trying to turn it around. And here is the governor saying, your father saying, you're wasting your time, and obviously going to make the decision.
Well,
not just out of like love, but to actually try to do something good.
well, and I think maybe out of a sense, I mean, in some ways, I think what her father says backfires, which is maybe part of the decision is there, but for the grace of God go I, right? Like he implies that she could have been sent to prison. I mean, she committed crimes, right? Like you
multiple
can't
crimes.
steal from a hospital, and there might even be a violation of a Good Samaritan law if you're a physician and you do nothing when someone's hit by a car. But the implication that this is never drawn directly, but I think the implication that lands, at least in her head, is if these guys are too far gone to bother saving because they've already committed enough crimes, then that's how you feel about me. Then you've already written me off too. And another component of it that I think is interesting, I'm sorry, I'll stop rambling in a minute, but
you're not rambling.
Thank you. A friend of mine in the program who's been sober for, a couple decades has actually said that one of the things that they say is a key component of long-term durable sobriety is service, is be useful to others. And so again, I think it's that failure of her father to understand what I'm doing at Fox River is helping me stay sober. It's meaningful work that is giving me a purpose. And it's just this massive disconnect. And then we went and we shot the coldest scene of my life.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
On Lake Michigan. I mean, I think it's a little bit about the scene you shot with Yatanis. Like, we were out there, and Bobby Roth, we were like, it was a little B unit. We'd like driven out with a camera. And I think it was around sunset. And Bobby Roth and I are in this van. And he was like, I don't know if I can get out of the van. And I was like, I'm with you, but I think I have to. I actually think, if I remember right, I'm not sure that scarf was wardrobe. I think it was I went out and I was like, oh, you guys, exposed flesh is going to be really dangerous right now from like a medical perspective. I think someone in the van was like, here, take my scarf.
Yeah.
And I wrapped it around me. It was, I think they took it out. I couldn't stop weeping.
Yeah.
Because, when your eyes go like that. And Bobby at one point was like, I don't think you should be crying in the scene. I was like, I'm trying not to. It's just my existential pain at the cold. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot. I know exactly where it is. It's just south of the loop. Looking back at the city, I don't know if you've seen a movie called I'm Trying to Break Your Heart, which is about the making of Wilco's album Yankee Hotel Foxtrot. There's a whole thing of them walking there, like in black and white. Beautiful shot. There's so many iconic shots of Chicago from there. I think it's cool for you to join the ranks of those shots.
To be one of them?
Yeah.
It's by like walking across the crosswalk at Abbey Road.
Exactly.
Yeah, that stuff just seeps into your bones in a way that's very hard to get out.
I'd rather die in the heat than in the cold.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, anytime.
Is that right? Like you too?
Oh yeah, you give me the first season of Walking Dead. We had 40 consecutive days over 90 degrees with 98% humidity.
I'll take it though. I'll take it.
I can do that. I don't love it, but I can do it because when I get certain kinds of cold,
I can't think. Same. No, and it makes me scared and angry in a weird way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You also made a note that you came back you were called back to do the
wrong
car scene. Oh,
wrong scene. That's coming. That's coming. But I do remember shooting some of these scenes, like the scene in the infirmary where Michael tells her, where he comes clean. It's in some ways it's a very breathtaking move on his part, having been all about subterfuge and planning and lies and, sort of misdirects, to just be like, I'm breaking out of jail and I'm taking my brother and I need your help and you have to leave the door open, please. But I just remember my stomach being tied up in knots as we were doing that scene, with just the kind of heartbreak of it all, the like definition of a tragedy.
What's cool about that scene is that he has to throw a Hail Mary, but the Hail Mary is predicated on the stuff. It started as bullshit, but there is actually something between us. And so it goes towards her ability to then, after being deceived, to trust him. I mean, when we did Imposters, there was this whole idea of when you con somebody, especially with love, you actually have to fall in love with them a little bit for real. And maybe that gets out of control. And that kind of did for Michael. I mean, I don't think maybe flirting was part of his plan originally. But also the thing he needs from you has changed multiple times, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is really what makes the writing, I think, so fun here. He needed the pugnac. He needed to drop the thing through the grate. Then he needed access to the place for them all to get out, right?
Well, and then he needed a plea for clemency, right? Like mid-season, he needed, hey, would you please tell your father to put it? Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
And then he needed the key to the door, and then he needs you to leave the door open. Like, all that was new, and it's so great, the raising of the stakes. What were you saying? I interrupted.
Well, what's interesting is for all the planning that he did, what he doesn't know, because it's supposed to be anonymous, is that she's an addict. And that every one of these moments jeopardizes her sobriety, right? Like because her sobriety is relatively recent. You know, it's not like she's been sober 20 years. It's been a couple years, maybe. I think maybe it's like a year. But what I think we see for the first time is this isn't just, I'm annoyed, I'm hurt, I'm whatever. This could actually send somebody into the kind of relapse that would maybe put another body in his hands, and he doesn't know that, which is interesting.
But it's also great because it makes the stakes for her of her own redemption in a way high, in that these decisions come with these real stakes for her that aren't just, did I do the right thing ethically? But this is gonna, I'm collapsing under the weight of this decision, which is great.
And with a father who's running for vice president, there will be no leniency. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to get you out of jail for this one.
Did you know at this point if you were going to leave the door open? I mean, did the writers tell you? Did you not? Were you literally waiting for scripts to come out like the rest of us were on almost every?
I don't think I asked. I think
I guess you
it
wouldn't
was
need to,
like,
right? You don't need to know.
It's coming. Yeah, I mean, to me, the episode very much lived in the weighing of the decision and in the assumption that, like, the assumption is no. I mean, I think she leaves the room with Michael going, you're out of your fucking mind. Like, no, I'm not going to commit a felony to help you escape. Like, there's a lot that I would do.
To commit a felony, yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it's the conversation with her father that shifts that.
Can I ask about your necklace?
Yeah, you mentioned you had a question about that. What was it?
I just hadn't noticed it before. It looks to be totemic in some kind of way. Was it important to you? Did you choose it? Do you remember? Did she wear it in multiple episodes? Is it something? Was
Many.
it a charactery thing?
You know, the thing that I asked for was, I don't want to change jewelry. It drives me nuts when you've got somebody who's supposed to be like someone who's all about their job, but they have a different, like, they have a whole different jewelry situation every day. It's like, that's not, most of us, you've got your wedding ring or your whatever. You've got the things you wear every day and leave it. And the thing that I had asked for that I do have on every episode was an AIDS bracelet. Those silver cuff bracelets with a little AIDS ribbon on it that was raised for AIDS research, partly because it was it's like every time you bought a bracelet, it was like $30 and all the proceeds go to AIDS research. This was 2006, back when AIDS was a very different kind of diagnosis, and that somebody very important to me early in my life had died of AIDS. And so that mattered to me, and I thought it would be something that might matter to Sara. The necklace was something wardrobe found, and we thought it was kind of cool. I've got it on in a lot of episodes.
Okay. I don't know
Probably
why
most of them.
them.
It looked like an abacus to us.
Ah,
And we thought it was kind of
interesting.
cool, this idea that there's this sort of constant, like, score one for the good guys, score one.
Calculation.
Yes. I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, but
there is a scene where you commented about it in the rewatch where she's looking around. He's told her what he's up to, and she's looking around the room. And I thought for a second, obviously it didn't go this way, where she was like, "Oh, you're gonna shimmy across the thing and make it to the pipe so that you could," like, suddenly she was an
she
expert
like puts
in
it all together.
Yeah, she puts it all together.
Wait a minute, let me guess. You've dug a hole behind your toilet.
Exactly.
And you're going to come through the pipes. You were going to lift up through. No. Yeah, no. I think it was just try and make sense out of it. When I was doing Tarzan, which is the first like series I was in from the pilot, our director, David Nutter, in the pilot was brilliant. And I remember him saying to somebody who was a very new actor at the time, just wiggle your eyes and look around the room a few places. It'll make it look like you're thinking.
It's 100% true.
And I was like, that is the most specific direction I can imagine and so effective. Because
wiggle your eyes, though. What is wiggling your eyes?
Well, not wiggle, but it's like just look at a few different places.
You can tell. You can tell. I don't want to go too far down the actor rabbit hole, but I think it's you can tell. I can tell, or maybe I think I can tell when an actor isn't thinking about anything and they're supposed to be. We're just like, oh, they're just on my face. I don't have to be thinking about anything because I'm supposed to be thinking about something. Because when an actor is thinking about something, it reads. I don't know if they're actually thinking about what they're supposed to be thinking about
It almost doesn't matter.
Who told me that they wrote... Not told me. I saw an interview with somebody where I think it was Christian Bale, where he wrote some character of his that was very quiet. He wrote like extensive things of like what the person would be thinking, which is cool. You can also just do it. My favorite example is Al Pacino in Insider, where he plays a reporter or producer of 60 Minutes. And he does a lot of sitting in front of like notebooks or like waiting for a fax to come in thinking. And I'm convinced in every scene that he's thinking about the thing he's supposed to be thinking about. Whether he actually is or not doesn't actually matter because whatever he's doing, it reads to me anyway. No, but
it is a pet peeve especially to me, when they cut to someone who isn't talking. And I'm like, your job is not to wait for your next line.
Yeah.
Your job is to live a life that makes that next line inevitable, which means you're thinking about something. Yeah.
There was a thing on practice where a couple of us would catch ourselves just making a W sound with our mouths as
like,
yeah, like you're about to say, like, because it could be like, wait, or it could be what, or it could be when.
Why?
Maybe that's an act. Maybe that's a good acting trick or a bad acting trick.
It's whacking.
It is definitely whacking.
There was something else you were going to tell me about, which is the Act 5 montage, which, let me tell you what, that was a fascinating example in this episode.
I don't know TV history enough to know if that was actually new. Like, I wonder if they did that in, let's say, Hill Street Blues. Speaking of which, Daniel J. Travanti, who plays the president, he was the lead on Hill Street Blues. He was absolutely one of my favorite actors growing up. He was just brilliant on that show. And
I never watched it. My parents did not let me.
First thing I did on TV was a show called Missing Person, shot in Chicago. I had my very first scene on TV with him. Anyway, that was many years before Prison Break. There's a thing that they would do on Grey's and on Private Practice, and I think a lot of shows do it, but I feel like Shonda took it to another level, which was like a needle drop montage in Act 5 of a show where there's all of these storylines that are all at a crisis point.
And you're checking in on everyone.
And you're checking in on everybody kind of only visually. Like there's maybe a couple of lines, but and a lot of times on Grey's or on Private, the music was way louder than the dialogue. Like it was a filmic convention. It was something you'd see in a movie that I don't think was done on television a lot, which is, there's this 90-second almost interlude, almost operatic interlude of somebody laying in a hospital bed, somebody sitting in a car looking at a
somebody
house.
rocking a baby, somebody
rocking a baby. And when a show that has these ensembles like Prison Break does, and all these people that are reaching crisis point at the same time, it is a way to very, I think, elegantly show you where everybody's at. I mean, and it's a great expositional reminder, right? I mean, C Note's making a decision,
here's
looking
why
at the
you
guy.
care about.
Don't forget Westmoreland has to go. He's trying to get to his daughter. All that stuff is happening at the same time, and it really kind of tees it all up, I should say. It's great. I didn't remember that Prison Break did that.
We don't often. I think there's one more earlier in the season. What I remember about, and they didn't do that on Prison Break with this one because it probably wouldn't have been appropriate, but I remember some of those Act 5 montages, like changing musicians' lives. Because they did Israel Kamakabiva Ole did a cover of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And I think that was Grey's. It might have been ER. I can't remember. It was a hospital show. And it put him on the map.
Grey's would do that, and these people would rock it. I mean, those songs would rock it. And then Grey's started doing a thing where they would actually, at the end of the episode, then have a single card credit of like, this song is available on Apple Music, da-da-da-da-da.
I will also say some of those, I've had to shoot one of those as a director, and it's cool, but it can also be a little daunting because you're like, this only is a half a page.
Yes.
But it's 7 different setups. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to go to 7 different actors in 7 different locations, and we've got to get enough shots, and we got to have enough movement. And so it can be one of those sort of Rome Burns things where they're like, it's a half a page. And you're like, right, but it's actually a full day's work.
And in terms of acting or directing an actor or being directed, it's one of those, you're looking wistfully at the, okay, we have 10 minutes to do this, but it's like the low point of your life. Okay, and go.
Yeah,
we were talking about, you don't want to talk in conclusions with actors, and as an actor,
when we were talking with Silas about that.
Sometimes you do want to get told the conclusion, but just looking wistfully isn't really actable usually. So it can be a delicate thing to shoot.
And it can be tricky to get an actor to a place where you're like, I know you have no words and no run-up, but this needs to actually be as full and potent as if you had been having a conversation with this person all day.
And we're going to lunch in 4 minutes, so...
Exactly. And half the crew is already looking at their cell phones.
Correct. And this thing we have to do after lunch, we have to move to the next location. So
my favorite one is when sounds like, can I just pull your wire before lunch? Because there's no words in this scene. And you're just like, yeah, but I get it.
Don't get me started. Sound departments hate me.
Well, it's frustrating when you get pulled in for looping on a day off to do a sigh. Yeah.
They hand you a page when you go to looping, which is when you add sound in, and when you get there and there's no dialogue, it just says efforts.
Yeah. Because somebody decided they didn't need to wire you. You're like, no. Acting does happen sometimes without words. There are sounds that human bodies make. Okay, there was something else that I wanted to ask you. Oh, we were talking a lot about scents and Brussels sprouts.
Okay, so
in the middle of this,
I just wonder. And again, like, I don't care if it's real or not. But I do wonder. If I'm ever a fugitive from justice, and
if a handful of Brussels sprouts will be tracked.
If I'm ever being chased by dogs, and I need to cover my own scent, if you rubbed Brussels sprouts in your domicile, wherever the dogs are going to smell, but then you smell like Brussels sprouts then?
Well, okay, so listen.
I guess if they went and showered,
first of all,
they would just smell like tea bag and they wouldn't smell like Brussels sprouts.
First of all,
sorry for the image.
You don't ever want to smell like tea bag. Let's just get this over with. Okay, backing up. I think there's 2 big buys in this show, and I actually love that they kind of say to the audience, I know, just fucking go with it. The first one is a baggie with a cup of peroxide is going to bleach an entire prison
in a toilet
full of water. I mean, like, it would actually be kind of amazing if in the next episode they all got out, it was like tie-dyed. I love the buy that they kind of say to the audience, listen, at this point in the season, we've done some really extraordinary mental calisthenics. Just go with us on this one.
Yeah.
Calm down. And the second one is, yes, that I think that moment of, and I hope somebody memed this at some point, of Teabag walking up to one of his cronies and being like, you're going to eat your tots. Like, it's such a Napoleon Dynamite moment in the cafeteria where he takes a handful of Brussels sprouts. I think the reason, here's my pitch for why it might have worked. Because all the dogs have to get the scent is a cell that has 2 bodies in it.
Okay.
And a bed.
Right. And there's not like rows and rows of clothes. There's not carpeting.
Right. So like if you Paul.
There's sheets and blankets, basically.
There's sheets, there's a shitty pillow, and that's kind of the end of the list. And so if you, Paul, were running from the authorities, I think it might take more than a handful of Brussels sprouts to keep you safe. But I think under these circumstances.
Is it Cool Hand Luke where they rubs lemon on him? Or maybe I'm thinking of a different movie. Yeah.
There's a scene in, I think, the 3rd episode, maybe 2nd, of Walking Dead, where they cover themselves in garbage bags smeared with zombie gut. So that they smell like zombies, not living human beings. And they have to walk through a crowd of zombies. And in it is my favorite line of the entire series, written by Frank Darabont, where Stephen Yeun, who plays Glenn, turns to Andy Lincoln's character and he says, if bad ideas were an Olympic event, this would win the gold. It's my favorite line.
By the way, when you say it's a buy in a writing sense, like go with this may not make 100% sense, but it's a buy for this.
I'm asking you to buy it.
Do you spell that B-U-Y or B? Oh, okay. A buy.
Yeah,
I buy it. Okay.
Yeah, I kind of need you to buy this.
Like, in sports where you're like, oh, they have a buy this week. It's B-Y-E. Like they're skipping.
I've never understood what that means.
I think it just means like bye. That's what I always thought it meant.
Like they're not playing that week because
bye. Because it's spelled B-Y-E. I don't know.
Or like a by-election. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, one more story because I know we have to wrap this up, but I keep punting this about the Golden Globes. It's not like it's that fascinating, but it was a very small thing. Most of the cast, except you and I, got to go to the People's Choice Awards because I think we were the ones shooting that day, and they wanted the cast to have a big presence. And so they went and they won. And as you've already mentioned, Wentworth was in, I believe, the restroom when the win was called. And that was cool. And then we were nominated for a Golden Globe. And Golden Globes tickets are hard to come by. And I believe they didn't give anyone in the cast any ticket. That they all went to the producers and the executives. And Wentworth was given a ticket and a +1.
Was he nominated?
He was nominated. Yes, he was nominated for best actor in a television series. And by the way, earned that nomination so many times over this season. And I remember we were sitting on set one day and he was like, it strikes me as unfair that I'm going to get to go to 2 of these and you're not going to get to go to any. And I was like, your face is the one on the poster. But he was like, do you want to come and be my date? And I was like, that is the single sweetest thing ever. And it was so lovely. And it served a few purposes. He's like, listen, I think the audience would be happy to see another cast member. Also, he's like, I'm not dying to sit at a table full of executives from the show with no one that I really know. Also he was not out at the time and to sort of obviate the question of who's he going to bring as his date. But it was still, it meant the world. And it was one of those moments where I called my team and was like, hey, what does this mean? I get to go to this thing. And there was, by this point, a website called Sarah Wayne Callies Looking Stunned. because I was so bad at taking
What?
photos on the red carpet because I'm not a model. I don't know how to do this. That every time I would get on the red carpet, I would my eyes would go real big and I'd be like, and I would literally look like a deer in the headlights.
Oh my goodness.
And there were so many of these photos from various prison break events leading up to this, that there was a website called Sarah Wayne Callie's Looking Stunned. And I actually thought it was kind of funny.
Stoned.
No, stunned.
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 That's even funnier.
Stunned. And so I went to Wentworth and I was like, can you talk me through how to take a decent red carpet photo? And he and another friend of ours, mutually, Peter Page, was like, here's your red carpet technique. But I spent weeks before this event practicing in the mirror how not to look stunned, and then realized I don't have anything to wear. And I'm in Chicago. We're going to fly into this. And so somebody on my team was like, I think I can find you a dress. Literally stuck a dress from Banaz Seraphore. I remember it was her design. Stuck a dress in a FedEx envelope.
Whoa.
It got to me in Chicago. I opened it. The dress slid out. I tried it on. And I was like, and that was my entire Golden Globe sitting. And they were like, great, wear that. Weirdest. It was my first ever. I'd never been to an awards ceremony. I found it hugely, very disappointing, but also a relief in some ways, because I was like, oh, this whole thing is just kind of cheesy and weird, and I don't care at all about it. But
do you remember what the big movies were that year? What were the?
If I remember right,
who hosted? It wasn't Polar and Faye yet, right?
No. Okay, so I've been to two of them. One was Queen Latifah, and one was Ricky Gervais.
Ooh.
I think this was the Latifah one.
That seems about the right timing.
She was astonishing.
Seems a little early for Gervais.
I think it was a little early for Gervais.
Yeah.
I remember the red carpet being like a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
It was so
Those
long.
Are crazy.
Oh my God, it was bonkers. And I was like the first person down it. I was like, I'm the least famous person at this event.
Right.
And then I got there and I sat down and there was no one in the room. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to sit here in this ballroom and eat bread and drink water until somebody shows up.
I find it really hard to not just be like, and I'll have another wine. And then by the time the thing is halfway through, you're not in good shape. That would be difficult to manage.
I was wearing a white silk dress, and I was so afraid that if I ordered wine, I would be wearing a pink spotted silk dress, which could have been possible. Okay. So,
wow.
I think that's kind of, there's so much to talk about in this episode, but I think we should probably let the people let the people go about their days and their lives.
Let's do the fan archive question things, but let's take a quick break and come back and do that.
Yeah, let's take a break. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Today, I'm going to call this the second installment of this sort of fan archive question.
Oh, did you find another fan letter from back in the day? Okay.
I found another back in the day letter. We won't keep doing this, but this one I loved. This was from someone named Steve Jolly.
Sure.
Of Portsmouth, England.
Okay.
And it was in this big giant manila envelope that I had marked international fan mail from 2007. So there wasn't like a date on his letter, but it was from around then. But I never answered these questions. I just sent him like an autographed headshot, like a total idiot. And so, Paul,
nice.
You ready to help me get back to Steve Jolly? He probably wrote to you too. Back in the day.
Hold on. Steve's right here. I'm going to bring him out. Steve? No. I don't know if Steve ever wrote me. I don't recall. But yes, please hit me. Let's hear it.
Okay. So, if you could star alongside anyone living or dead,
oh my goodness,
who would it be? By the way, it doesn't say actor. So I suppose if you really wanted to star alongside Drake, you could star
alongside. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm. If you want to think about it for a second, I can ask you the next questions and you can answer in the order.
Wait, I want you to answer.
Well, no, you have to go first.
Why?
Because I've talked too much because you're not in this episode.
Disagree.
Sorry.
You've had this question. If I could star along anyone living or dead, who would it be? I'm gonna go Katharine Hepburn, like in one of those. I don't know. I thought there's something about you and Michael, by the way, in the infirmary scene, kind of doing some rapid fire. I mean, it was a serious conversation, but it had a Howard Hawks 30s, 40s rom-com rat-a-tat-tat, which I really like.
A little bit of a.
A little of that. I would love to do that with Katharine Hepburn or Meryl Streep or Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, Phil Hoffman. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Okay. What's the next one? What's your favorite film of all time?
What's your answer?
I'm going Phil Hoffman. It's a great answer.
You're going with Phil Hoffman. So you're just stealing from me. Okay.
Yes, I'm just stealing.
What is my favorite film of all time? I'm not going to say it's the best film of all time or anything like that. I'm just going to say like
just your
film that I'm going to just say Jaws.
Oh, which I've never actually seen.
I just can't get enough of it. I just love it.
Amazing. It's wonderful. Mine is Spring, Summer, Winter, Fall, Spring, which is a very obscure South Korean film that I think is the most beautiful thing ever shot.
Okay. I'm going to have to adding that to my list. Never seen it.
I think you would dig it. Okay. Last question from Steve Jolly. What would you be doing if you weren't an actress? That was targeted to me. So we'll tailor it to you as you'd like to. If you were not an actor.
I wouldn't imagine you use the term actress, do you? I don't really
No, but it doesn't bug me.
It doesn't bug you? Okay.
No. I don't think anybody ever called me an actress as a way of being insulting. I call myself an actor, but I don't think anybody ever was like, I'm going to call you an actress just to belittle you.
It just seems like a strange distinction. Best actor, best actress. I would like to think I would be a musician. I would like to think that I would be a filmmaker or a writer of some kind. I don't know if those things are possible, but that's what I would hope.
What if I were to kick you out of entertainment altogether?
Woof. Is writing entertainment? Can I write books or something?
Yes, you can write books.
Okay, yeah, then I would choose that writing.
Okay, you'd write books.
Get the ADHD under control. I would choose writing.
Does that help to write?
No. I'm saying it. No. No, it's a nightmare.
Okay. Oh, okay, great. I'm so sorry that you're suffering.
Yeah, that's okay.
We can all practice some meditation together. I think I would probably be a prof.
Yeah.
Someplace in the world. Yeah, there we go. Steve Jolly. Those are the answers to your questions. And if you're out there somewhere, young Stephen, hit us up. We'd love to hear from you.
Call us. Yeah. All right, that's our show for today, folks. Thank you for listening. We will leave you with the calling question of the week. This one is not Prison Break related. Strictly speaking, we're just nosy.
Okay, here's the question. What's the most bonkers thing you've ever asked someone to do for you?
Oh, that's good. It is prison break related.
If it's not leaving a prison door unlocked and committing a zillion felonies, we would love to hear it. You can leave us a message at 401-3P-BREAK. That's 3PBREAK. And remind me, Paul, next time I will tell you the story of the most insane thing my husband ever asked me to do.
Oh,
which
good.
was
when we
a felony.
Oh.
And I didn't do it.
When we get to the answers from our line, we will make sure that we hear that story. Yeah. All right. And with that, we leave you.
Bye, everybody. Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul is a Caliber Studio production. Your hosts have been friends, but not besties, Sarah Wayne Callies and Paul Edelstein. Our prison warden has been producer Ben Haber. Our head of Jailhouse Rock is Paul Edelstein, who made the music for this podcast. Keeping us slim and trim in the prison yard has been sound designer and editor, the great Jeff Schmidt. Keeping us up to date on the outside world is production assistant Drew Austin. Our prison artist, logo, and brand designer is John Nunziato and Little Big Brands. Check them out at www.littlebig.brands.com. Follow us on Instagram at Prison Break Podcast. Email us at prisonbreaking@caliber-studio.com and call us at 401-3PBREAK. Prison Breaking with Sara and Paul has been a Caliber Studio production. Thank you for listening.